What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the No Starving Artist podcast. We're on a roll here, folks. We are on a roll. The episodes are happening, so hopefully you're enjoying them. We have another reoccurring guest on the pod today, which is exciting. We've had a couple of these in the past, and they're always really, really great conversations round two, because there's a little bit of rapport there. And this is somebody that I've actually gotten the chance to meet in person, which is also amazing. So we're going to jump into the episode here in a second, but don't forget nsadance.com. That's where you can find out everything there is to know about No Starving Artists. But without further ado, let's get into the episode today. Mike, welcome back to the No Starving Artist podcast. How does it feel round two?
Good. It's great to be back.
Good.
Excited.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, my name is Michael, like you just mentioned, and I've been a dancer since I was the wee age of 2 years old. My mom was a teacher. I was basically born into the studio. Danced my whole life. Did competition. Um, Been teaching for over 10 years now. Have been doing judging. Has done convention teaching, and I'm teaching workshops all around. I've done some out of state stuff now. I do a lot in Ohio, but I've done some in Michigan and New York, and we're starting to pick up a little bit more. And I'm at 5 studios now, so we're really hammering down on the no free time and all dance. So
I love it. I love it. We were just chatting. This happened in the last episode as well. So I'm like, I feel like I should just start asking the question while recording, because it always ends up being a great topic. But I was asking Mike, what he's kind of seeing in dance right now, and what he's observed in the spaces that he's taking up. And he brought up something that I've also seen as well. And I'll share kind of my experience with where I've seen this, and then you can kind of expand on yours a little bit. So the topic is like almost this sort of crusade, it feels sometimes, against like foundation in a lot of different styles. I know I have actually come across this in the hip hop space. I don't remember what the actual video I was watching, but I just remember the comments being like, there was a handful of comments that were like, if you are teaching, it sounds crazy to even say out loud. The comment was literally like, if you're teaching like New Jack fundamentals in hip hop class, you shouldn't be teaching hip hop. And it made me like really think for a second, because I was like, this is such an odd comment. And I think, trying not to take it too out of context, I think what people are trying to say is like, if all you're doing is just teaching basics, then that's also not a great solution, which I agree with. I think the wording of the comment and the wording of this narrative is getting twisted a little bit, but I think people are also just confused timeline wise. And I've always said that, like, and I've always done this with kids that I teach, is like younger classes, I lean heavily on foundation and grooves and basic things. And then as the kids get older, I tend to age them out of those things as well, because, they're not, I mean, I understand the sentiment. You shouldn't just be doing New Jack grooves forever and ever and ever. That should not be, the core of what you do. But you bring up a good point, which is this is happening in other styles. And I'm curious to hear kind of where, like, how this was brought up to you and how you're kind of observing it from your end.
I experienced it just from scrolling. Honestly, I see a lot in social media, and I have past students now that are in dance team and everything in like colleges, and it's very cookie cutter, straightforward of like what they want, and they have like their trick base and everything else, and then but it's just like, there was a video that I saw recently. And I don't want to, like, I want to like make sure that like I'm not taking anything from the dancer, because the dancer themselves are like very, very like well trained, athletic,
100%,
like talented. But there was like an improv. I want to say it was from the Dance Awards maybe, but there was like that was the improv round they have, and like she came out, she was fierce, but it was like all tricks, it was all turns, it was all leaps, and there was no pure movement that lasted like enough to where you were like, wow, like this is different from what I've seen. This is like interesting. This is truly how they're like, as a dancer, this is like their personality.
Yep.
It was
Yeah.
all just tricks. And it brought me back to a TikTok I actually saw a couple months ago. And I don't know if it was from the Dance Awards or not. It might have been one of the same things, but he did not do one single trick, one single turn, and everybody was praising him in the comments about that. They're like,
Mm.
"Look, somebody that actually just danced
Mm-hmm.
in an
Mm-hmm.
improv round." Because I feel like that's just what improv needs to be,
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
movement quality, because we kind of lose that, sense of just motion through our bodies, because
Yeah.
everything is so like high energy athleticism. How many Alasakon turns can I do? How many pirouettes? How many,
Mm-hmm.
how
Mm-hmm.
far can my leg go? So, and that's kind of what I wanted to piggyback off of and go to, like, when I was talking about like hip hop training and tap
Mm-hmm.
training, especially because even if I try to get my students to do like tap improv, I try to teach them how to listen to the music essentially,
Yeah.
instead of forcing out steps.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
always just want to go towards like, oh, like I'm just thinking of my terminology. I'm thinking of maxi forwards. I'm thinking of, shuffle ball changes. I'm thinking of
100%.
cramp rolls, instead of just like letting your body kind of take over where the music is taking you. So
Yeah,
like,
it's a weird shift, right? Because it's like I feel like dance start came from a place of like entertainment
mhm,
as far as like commercial dance and kind of like, obviously dance in its purest origin was not necessarily entertainment based, but thinking 20, 30 years ago, the entertainment component of dance and even farther than that was really, really important. That was kind of like center stage.
right.
And I think as we pivot towards like the best word is just that athleticism. As we pivot towards that, I feel like we're almost at a point where it's like imbalanced now, where
Yeah.
we're not necessarily focusing at all on the entertainment component,
Mhm.
and we're purely focused on the athleticism and sort of like the one upping of individual skills or tricks.
Wow factor. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's not wow anymore because now you're expecting it. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
100%. Well, and I think you brought up something too, where it's like if everybody is doing these things in some uh, quantity or another, right?
Mhm.
Whether you're doing 6 pirouettes or 10,
Yeah.
it's still a pirouette. It doesn't change structurally from 6 to
Right.
10. It's just you're doing more.
Mhm.
And again, that's an applaudable feat, and I think it's cool and it's great. I just think we're imbalanced. I think is the biggest issue that we're kind of touching on here, and I
Mhm.
think that it's always an interesting topic to me when you talk about like origins of dance and just like the progression of dance over time, because it's a hard topic, because it's like dance should evolve and the style should progress, but then do we eventually get to a point where we lose sight so much of where it came from that then we lose what it even is?
Right. And that honestly starts in the studio of who's
Mm,
teaching it. You know what I mean? So that's,
yeah.
whoever's teaching like the foundation, just the basic classes. I always try to make it a case too in my tap classes, like, we have to go through the very basics in order to do the harder material. We have to
Yeah.
learn how to do, your old school Broadway soft shoe style tap, but we have to learn about the history. We have to learn about why tap is even, doesn't even exists, and why it's
Yeah.
an American like tradition. And, then we kind of transition into like hoofing and just understanding rhythms a little bit more than just basic steps. And,
Mm,
but it's the same thing with hip hop. It's the same thing with jazz. It's everybody wants to just focus on, look what I can do, instead of appreciating the art form for what it is.
mm,
And it's more about like, how many likes can I get on my Instagram post just because I like, you know, did a 540 out of,
yeah.
my Alasakon turns, and because I saw, the um, dance team do it at nationals. And so it's just like, it's all cool and all. I appreciate, you know, people wanting to push themselves to the limit, and like, a good trick every now and then. And I like appreciate like high intensity, but we don't want to lose sight of like why this is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
it's
Do you feel like you get good reception from your classes and your students when you're, you know, kind of guiding them down this path of like making sure they understand the importance of foundation and musicality and all these things? Are you finding the kids are open to it, or are they kind of hesitant to it? And how do you sort of navigate that one way or the other?
Um, that's a good question. You get a mixed bag, you know?
Yeah,
Like you have some
yeah,
that are like, you know, this is boring, I don't blah blah blah, but then you have to really explain to them, you know, they'll see me kind of like, you know, BSing on the side, you know, I'll
yeah,
just be going like fast footwork just because that's, you know, what my body does
yeah,
randomly.
yeah,
And they'll be like, "All right, show off," and I'll be like, "No, I'm not showing off. I'm just like, you know, that's just me dancing." And they're like, "Well, teach us that." And I'm like, "Okay, but you got to learn this before you get to that." So I'm like, so once I think once they start to like push through the basics. And I
yeah.
explained to them, I'm like, it's like in ballet, you have to learn what a plie is, what a tendu is, what a
Hmm.
rondejam is. Like
Hmm.
everything leads into another, and like you cannot be, you know, this inspiration that you want to be unless you tack these like, you know, simple, basic, ground level, you know, progressions. And
Yeah,
um, I think once they finally catch on to a step, and once they like perfect, I guess you could say, like the basics and lead into like harder material, they do appreciate the basic because they're like, oh, okay,
mm,
like I got here from that. But you still do have like your, it just depends. It varies from student to student because they like want to attack, you know, like I said, social media has kind of like, you know, conditioned us to be very demanding right away. Like
yeah,
I want to be this
yeah,
good right now. I want to
yeah,
do these many turns right now. I don't want to do one turn. I don't want to do two turns. I want to do eight, like I just saw so and so do at the
yeah,
dance awards.
yeah,
But it's like, okay, well, you know, why am I not this good? It's my teacher's fault. No,
yeah,
you have to be patient. You have to like build. It's building. You know, you
yeah.
can't just throw a building out and it's there. You have to, you know, structure. So,
Yeah, I feel like thinking back to like when I started dancing, I feel like one of the things that I was so obsessed with was that like the process, like the actual like improvement and like chasing that new thing. But I feel like
mhm.
yeah, we are in a space where the end result is sort of is maybe it's that the end result is more in sight now
Mhm.
than it was before, you know, like
Yeah.
I don't know, because I think there probably was this sort of subconscious thing that like I didn't really know what I was trying to achieve when I first started dancing, because I, you know, I had people to look to, but I didn't know, it was just in my small little worldview, you know, I
Yeah.
wasn't able to
Yeah.
see like the greatest dancers in the world and then be like, oh, that's what I could do.
Right.
So therefore, I need to be able to do that type thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, if you put the, you know, what is, I don't know, like the carriage before the horse type metaphor, where it's like, if you're chasing the result and only the result and you're not in love with the process, then I don't know. I think it becomes difficult. But I have seen similar to you where when dancers do see when it kind of clicks and they're like, okay, now I understand why I had to learn this.
Hmm.
It's almost like empowering for them, because I feel like then they realize how much control they have in the situation.
Yeah, and you can really see that in class, especially just by their demeanor and like how they approach class after a while,
Yeah,
and they're a little bit more attentive. They put out a little bit more in class instead of just like, you know, when I'm recording for combos or like when I'm on stage. Whereas, you know, you still have those. I was one of those people. I didn't appreciate the process honestly until I got older and I was
mm,
honestly out of the studio because I always knew it as like, you know, I'm tired, I'm out of breath. Like, you know, my teacher's making me run my solo in a half hour, like eight times. I'm
yeah,
like, you know what I mean? So it was, and and I was the same way in sports. Like I played baseball like all through high school, and
yeah,
I was that type of kid that I'm like, I hate practice. Why do I got to be here? Like, I just want to play the
yeah,
game. I want to wear my uniform. I want to look cool. I want to like, you know, the audience and all that stuff. And I'm like the
yeah,
crowd, and then you know, that's why I'm not playing baseball. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
appreciate the the foundations, the fundamentals, as
Yeah.
much as I should have. And I think as I got older, I really appreciated, you know, especially as a teacher, like, you have to appreciate the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so it's difficult to really get that through to the kids because, like I said, they want to be good right away. So if to have that, it takes a special ability to really get them reeled in
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
loving class enough to where it's not always about your combo. Because I can't tell you how many times, I'm sure, you've heard it, where it's like, can we do a combo? Can we do a combo? Can we do a combo instead of class? Can we do a combo? I'm like,
Yeah.
we got to do progressions. We got to work on, like, basic fundamentals like right
Yeah.
now, because you
Yeah.
can't do these combos without that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We're in a weird kind of, like, social media has kind of gotten us to this point, I feel like, because when you and I were, you know, learning, we didn't have that liberty to see, like you mentioned, we didn't have the liberty to see people like outside of our little realm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I When I was competing, I thought I was like one of the best out there because I'm like, ooh, like, it was just me and a couple of these other guys in the state, and
Yeah.
I won this title, and then I went off the what was the first one? I went off to Vegas for my first nationals. I got my ass kicked,
Yeah.
and I and I was like, okay, that was a reality check. But then
Yeah.
that was only even just a smaller realm of what else is out in the dance room
Right. Right.
world,
Right.
because that was just, Dance Masters. There's so much more out there. And then once I start scrolling on, Instagram and TikTok more, I'm like, dang, am I good at tap? I'm
Yeah.
like, am I
That's
like as good as I
crazy.
thought I was? Because, like,
Yeah.
there's people from Japan and like all over that are like insane.
Yeah, that's a
And
crazy perspective shift for sure.
yeah, but it's
Because
it's
yeah,
humbling.
in your
Yeah.
little zone, it's like, oh, I'm the, that's honestly wild to think about because yeah, when before social media was what it was from a dance perspective, all you had to base your current level off of was what was
In your
what was near
studio.
you.
Yeah, and
I
like,
mean, if you traveled to events, you would get a little bit of a taste, but you weren't.
mhm,
Your worldview was so small that I almost feel like it allowed more people to have more confidence.
mhm,
Whereas now we're in a place where less people have more confidence
yeah,
because you're having to compare yourself against, you know, like you said, the whole world.
yeah,
And you don't know what they did to get the video. Like that's the thing that I always come back to is like you don't know how many times that person did that video
right,
or what it took for them to get to that point. Like all you're seeing is that one little moment and then it's like you're comparing yourself to that. Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah.
That's
I mean,
crazy cuz
that's
so true.
yeah. I had kind of like branching off a little bit, but I had a
Yeah.
student. She had like a project that she did last year, and she had to sit down and like interview me for it. And I remember answering a question about like comparing yourself, and I was like, well, teachers still compare themselves to other teachers.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just the students comparing themselves to, like, all the other kids that are dancing out there. Like, I still find that in myself when I'm like seeing all these posts about people, I won this choreography award and
Yeah.
this and all this
Yeah.
stuff, and I won
Yeah.
first overall with my big huge banner. And I'm like, I ain't getting no banner yet. Where's my
Yeah.
big banner? And then every time I get close, I'm like, oh dang. And then I see, like, down the street, I got a big banner for, and I'm like, so that, like, hits your confidence level a little bit.
100%.
And that's, it's natural as a dancer in general, just as anybody in general, especially
Yeah.
with like the internet and everything we have now. It's easy to compare yourself. So I have to find my way to, like, tune that out and just be like, all right, I'm creating what I want to create. And I'm still my biggest critic. I think everything I do is like, and it's harsh, but I feel like everything I do at first is like trash until I see it on
Mm,
stage and I'm like, oh, okay, this is definitely not as bad as I thought it was. This actually looks pretty good. And then
interesting.
the students like bring it to life. And I felt that
Yeah.
way with my student last year. It was their senior year, and you've probably seen her after I post her like all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
she was the one that did the acapella on the staircase,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember I like talked to her, and I was like, if you want to redo this whole thing, because I had never done an acapella or used a staircase in
Mm-hmm.
choreography
Mm-hmm.
before, and I was just like sitting there, and then it was bugging me even when I was just at home, and I was like, God, it sucks. Like this is not my best work, and
Interesting.
I don't want to screw it up for her senior year.
Yeah.
And she was adamant. She was like, "It's fine. I promise you, it's fine.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like it." And the first time I saw her on stage, I was like, "Okay." I like breathed a huge sigh of relief, and I was like, "Okay,
It's
it looks
working.
good."
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Do
was
you
like,
do
"It
you
looks
have
good."
trouble even getting it out in the first place? Or like is that process hard for you or no?
I second guess myself a lot, so I think
Okay.
that's the part of where it's like I'll pump the choreography out,
Yeah.
and then I'll see it in like full swing, and then I'm like, that's not what I envisioned in my head,
Yeah.
and then I'll have to like reel it back, and then there's always something I just feel like I want to change. I don't feel like I ever have like a perfect,
Mm.
because to me nothing's perfect. I don't feel, and I always try to make
Yeah.
that like a case where it's like, you've heard the practice makes perfect. I always say, I heard some, it was from one of the instructors that I had during a convention, and they said practice makes permanent.
Mm-hmm.
So I always go by that because to me, nothing is perfect, which is
Yeah.
why I don't really ever give perfect scores when I judge either. But I just, I feel like there's always something that can like, I can do better. There's always something that I can like change, not to where it's like, it's the students that I want to change or anything, nothing with them.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
just
For sure.
my mentality of how I think is like, I can always do better than what I just did. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I think it's a good and a bad thing
For sure.
because
For
you're
sure.
constantly wanting to push yourself and you're constantly wanting to always best yourself,
Yeah.
but you're also like eating away inside of like, you feeling like it's not good enough.
Yeah.
So I'm at that like fine line right now as like a choreographer and like a teacher, just because I want to get the absolute best that I can out of my students, but I have to make sure it starts with me
Yeah.
because, they can only carry it so far, unless I'm giving them the tools to work with.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
saying. So
That makes sense. That makes sense. Where do you feel like your inspiration comes from the most for like choreography, concepts, things like that?
um I mean, my teacher she was probably one of my biggest inspirations at
Mm.
MA. The thing is though, she wasn't, in terms of like intricate choreography, I think, she had her like big heyday back in like, in like the 80s, and like
Mm-hmm.
her choreography was always on point, and then it kind of got, I don't want to say stale, but it got very like predictable, I guess,
Mm.
as she got older, which was, I mean, she was in her 80s
Yeah.
teaching. So,
Yeah.
that was understandable. Um, but like I said, as I've gotten older and kind of gotten the ability to see all these different choreographers from around the world and stuff, and just through social media, just seeing all these different just ways of
Mm.
utilizing rhythms and utilizing your steps, and even hip hop, like I still get inspired, and I want to do like, I want to teach more hip hop, but I'm myself, I don't feel like I'm like, I kind of took a back seat because I'm like, I need to educate myself more because I
Mm.
kind of self-taught myself
Yeah.
with hip hop,
Yeah.
and I don't feel like now I'm comfortable enough to be like, all right, I'm gonna take like older classes and like
Yeah.
really ramp them up, because I feel like I still need to educate myself a little bit more. But with tap, it's like I see all these incredible, incredible teachers and choreographers just with like new ways of moving around the stage. Like
Yeah.
there was the Kaminskis, I think their last names are. I think it's one of them teaches at um Expressions.
Okay.
I forget her name, unfortunately. I know her brother is Sean Kaminsky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Both insane tap dancers.
Mm.
Like their genes, just like their genetics were just like side by side with that, because they're both insane. And I think it was Sean. I don't know which. It was one of them, and they had a piece at the dance awards where they brought out tap boards. And usually, I'm not a fan of using the tap boards
I
on
heard about this
stage.
piece, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, and was it the one with like the one step that was just the entire thing?
I watched that one. Was that them as
Yeah,
well?
that was Sean that did that one. And
Ah,
it was like this whole dance is just one step, and that was like the title of the dance. But it was like it was literally just one. I don't even know if it was like an 8 count or 16 counts, but it was just one base, like one step, and it was done in just a bunch of different ways, just to
yeah,
make it seem like all different, and it was one routine. But they like,
yeah.
I think it was that one because he had them move the top boards around, and they were in sync with each other as they moved them. They would place them at the edge, and they would like make sure they were on cue with each other. Then they would set them down at the same time and step on the same time. But it was like it was seamless, and
Yeah,
I was like
yeah,
that was interesting to me, and that was
yeah.
like original to like use the tap boards as almost like it is a prop, but like not just the tap on. It was like literally like they were moving them, they were like handling
Right,
them, and
right,
they
right,
were
right.
in time with them, not just moving them around and being like, okay, now we're gonna tap. It was like
Yeah,
part of the choreography. So I get a lot of inspiration from stuff like that, and
yeah.
but you have to make sure that you're getting your students up to that level
Hmm.
where you can apply all that. So, and I think I'm starting to really get there with a lot of the studios that um, had me come in and rework their tap program, and I think we're really starting to get there now. So
Yeah,
I'm excited for the future of that. But
I love that. Yeah, that makes sense though. Yeah, I feel like I agree with you. I always feel like I'm the most inspired when I see something that is not necessarily like incredibly original, but
mhm,
taking something that is, at its core pretty straightforward and then changing like the perspective on it.
yeah,
Which I
yeah,
think that piece speaks to in a lot of different ways because yeah, I mean I think like it's just so many bold choices all put together in one. And hats off to the dancers as well because
yeah, yeah,
they obviously had to carry the routine once it hit the stage and they
yeah.
did a great job with that. But
To be
but
just
yeah,
it was I don't know. They're incredible. So my
it's
hats
a
off to
sick
them.
routine. It's so cool. Yeah, and it is so cool to see something where you're like when you hear someone describe it, you're like that sounds like not that cool, but then you see it and you're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, that's really cool."
Yeah,
Like that to me is like such, the power of art is like if someone describes something to you or even just thinking about it, you're like that sounds kind of easy and then you see it and you're like, "I get it.
yeah,
That's really cool." Um but yeah, and I think that is that's it's hard because it's obviously the plus side of social media, right? Is
right.
we have access to all these people, and I think like you get to a certain point in your dancing when social media can be a really strong tool, and it can be something that's really engaging and creative and inspiring. But I
Hmm.
think just as much it can be the opposite,
Yeah, yeah.
especially because everybody's showing their highlights and everybody's showing the moments that are great and not really much else behind that.
Right. It's a double-edged sword. I mean, when you get to the nitty-gritty of it, but you know, I'm trying to now like be on a little bit more positive, you know, view of like when I'm going through and looking at things instead of being like, because I even used to get like not bitter, but just like jealous. I'd be
Yeah,
like, dang, like I could be this good. Why am I not? Instead of it just being inspiring. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
starting to get to that. I'm finally into that mindset instead of it being like, that's also my, only child syndrome coming out. So, so
Creeping its
and
way to the forefront.
yeah, that's my girlfriend always says that to me. She's like, you got that only child syndrome. You need to like,
That's funny.
learn to appreciate it instead of being like, and I'm like, you're right, you're right.
What do you feel like your kids are what's kind of the rumbling with them as far as like conventions and just their progress moving forward? What are some of their like worries or stresses that you feel like you're hearing from them?
A lot of it's just comparing themselves and being like not good enough, and especially
Mm,
when they see a lot of these like powerhouse studios
yeah.
come into play at these like conventions. The conventions itself, um, like it's some really tune out with conventions because of the classes.
Interesting.
And that's unfortunate because, they'll be like, "Oh, I love to compete, but I hate taking classes." And
Interesting.
yeah, and it's not like a lot, but
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
definitely like the ones that are vocal about it are the ones that have just been like, really persistent about that. So like studios are leaning more towards like optional conventions with like mandatory competitions,
Mm.
and but I don't know. I feel like everybody should at least go to one convention a year because I
Yeah,
feel like
for
it
sure.
really helps you not only, it's it gives you like an ability or gives you the opportunity to really like um, adapt to somebody else's style and learn from somebody else's teaching
Yeah.
and kind of put yourself out there. But I feel like that's the they're the type that there's types that want to sit back and like they don't want to put themselves out in the front. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've even said like you don't have to be right up front to be like noticed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a lot of like I'm sure you, especially you're on a stage, so like you'll notice the dancers that are like honestly in the back because
Yeah.
like sometimes you can't even see
100%.
the people that are in the front.
Yeah.
But I think that's honestly their biggest thing is just the fact that it's like they feel embarrassed because if they're not getting the combo right away,
Mm-hmm.
they look at it as like I have to be perfect with this combo instead of being like I'm just gonna like try to dance my way through it and do my best and learn from it
Yeah.
instead of it being, oh, I need to get this video moment so I look cool on social media.
Yeah.
When they
Yeah.
break off into the groups and then they do the when they post online for like
Yeah.
the conventions, but everybody has to kind of get that mentality out of their head because I think that's the most toxic part is just the worrisome of not being good enough in class when it's literally class. That's the point. You're supposed to make mistakes.
Yeah,
Like
there's really
it's
not a lot of room for like making mistakes anymore.
mm-mm.
Like as far as the dancer's mentality goes, I don't
No.
think anything really has changed structurally. Like as far as the classes actually go, I don't think
Mm-mm.
anybody's actually saying you can't make mistakes. But I think like the mindset of dancers nowadays is that they aren't allowed to make mistakes in class. So then when they do start to feel themselves slipping away from like knowing it, it's just kind of like they throw the towel in because it's almost like what's the point now if I don't have it perfect, then why even continue to try, which is definitely an interesting shift for sure.
Yeah, and I mean I try to relate to them because I was the same way when it came to like if we did like a lyrical combination or
Yeah.
even just like a jazz combination that was out of my like forte, you
Hmm.
know, and I would my like little defense mechanism would be like to start joking about it and be like, oh, like and I'd start cracking jokes.
Ah, okay.
And I used to have a friend that would like get so mad at me because she looked at me. She's like, shut up, I'm trying to learn, and I'm like, okay, okay, and but that was like but then it was opposite when it was tap, and then they were like,
Right, right.
I don't know what I'm doing, help me, and I'm
Everyone's
like,
trying to joke with you and you're like, be
yeah,
quiet.
yeah. So it's been an on. I mean, it's been going on for years, but it's just a little bit more obviously out there now because
Yeah.
everybody's more vocal about it. Everybody's posting stuff, so it makes you even more less confident because you're like,
Yeah.
oh, like
Yeah.
so and so is a pro and she's doing all this stuff and she's always being posted by the convention. Like I'm never going to be that good, and it's
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's I don't know. It's I think people would have a different mentality if it wasn't so like they weren't so worried on comparing themselves in class. And I try to just in my classes in general, I'm like, you're allowed to mess up. I am not going
Yeah.
to scold you for messing up. I will scold you for not trying.
Hmm.
I will get mad if you're not trying, but I'm not going to get mad if you're not, if you can't get something, as long as you're working through it and as long as you're busting your butt and like doing the best that you can. And that's all anybody can ask for in especially those big classes. They're worried about themselves anyway. Like,
Yeah.
that every dancer is worried about themselves. They're not paying attention to like the one girl across the room saying like, "Oh, she's so bad."
100%.
Like, so I think once everybody gets that mentality out of their head, I think conventions will be a lot more appealing.
Yeah.
But, there's some that love it. There's some that love to take classes and stuff like that. But a lot of them have that, fear of even stepping inside of a class, and they're just like dread those like mornings before competition, which, that's a whole different topic of like the scheduling and just like, the whole day. But like, I
Yeah.
think that is just like the biggest, you know, topic I would say just during conventions is just,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, the class aspect of it.
Yeah. The scheduling's pretty awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's really not really any other way to cut it. It's pretty. It's
No.
pretty
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah.
It's
I
pretty
mean,
rough.
I thought I had it bad. Um, but um, when we did like nationals, uh, we had like rehearsals for our like opening numbers and stuff,
Yeah.
and we were there for almost 2 weeks. Um, for nationals, and we would go in at 8 o'clock in the morning. We would rehearse our opening numbers and everything else. We would also have classes. We would also have like, and I would be the same way. I would try to dip out on a class. I'd be like, do I really have to take this jazz class? Do I really
Yeah.
have to take ballet today? And she was like, yes, 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 you paid for it, you're getting in there. And I'm like, okay, okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were there from 8 o'clock until 4 rehearsing, and then we'd have classes, and then we'd have to go watch the other competitions. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I was there, but a lot of the scheduling the kids go through now is really insane because they're up at like 5 in the morning. I mean, us as guys, we never had to do like makeup and hair and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So, I mean, like, I sympathize for them when they have to like get ready and do all that stuff. And
Yeah. 100%.
that's just
Yeah.
I'm just really glad I
It's,
never had to deal with that.
I get kids and they're like, I compete first thing in the morning, so I got to get up at like 6 a.m. What are your tips? And I'm like, I don't have any. I mean,
Yeah.
it's there's not a lot of humans that are like ready to rock, super energized at 6 in the morning. Like it's just kind of, it's just play your cards how they're dealt, I guess. Cause it's,
Yeah.
cause
Yeah.
even the judges, that's what I tell a lot of kids too, is I'm like, as unfair as it is, there's a high chance that the judges aren't morning people either, and they're they may not even be like fully kind of present in that moment
Yeah.
that early on. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think that happens all the time, but it's just humans. You got
Yeah.
a bunch of humans on the panel,
Yeah.
and if you have a comp that runs crazy hours and the judges are there for crazy hours, it's a lot. It's a lot of watching and.
Especially when you run late night the night
Hundred
before.
percent, 100%. Yeah,
We're not getting done till like midnight with like
yeah,
the awards, and then the
yeah.
girls have to be back up at 5 a.m.,
Yep.
5:30 just to go run it back for the next, run it through classes, and then get your butt to competition. You have, 6 numbers to go through today.
100%. Yeah, it's
Like,
it's crazy. It's crazy, crazy. But no, I think that makes sense, and I think like I think I definitely understand that sort of that first thing though, with like kids being a little bit pushed away or pushed, getting kind of off-putting vibes from conventions right now. I think that that's definitely something that we're seeing a little bit more of, just because I think of all the things that we've been talking about on this episode. Honestly, I think it's a culmination of all the above. It's like, because in our space, that's sort of like the pinnacle of all of that comparison right
yeah,
now
yeah,
is the convention classes. It's like
yeah.
that's where everybody wants to get the call out, everybody wants to get selected to go on stage. Like that's where
Scholarships and all that. Yeah.
that's where for a lot of kids, like they hope to get their payoff from the whole season they've been working at
Right.
that convention they go to. It's just hard when you factor in just statistics of the situation.
Right.
If you're in a room of 150 people, that's a really, really small chance that you're walking away with something.
Right.
So to kind of roll all your dice on that one moment is
Yep.
it's gonna pan out not in your favor more often than it is in your favor. And it's
Yeah.
hard too, because even the kids that are high achievers, like I talk to those kids and they're like, class stresses me out because I feel like I have to be really good all the time.
Mhm.
And I feel like at any moment I could get called out and I'm going to have to do a solo. And what if I don't know the combo? And it's like it's it's kind of heartbreaking to hear a 13-year-old kid have carry that much pressure of like they know that they're one of the better kids in the room, but with that also comes the expectation that they're better all the time, every time. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. I don't think anybody should have to feel that sort
Mm-mm.
of like pressure
Mm-mm.
because no one's the best every time, all the time.
No, I
It's
mean,
just,
but that's what I try to like. I always try to convey that too with like if you mess up then just dance, go through it, move through
yeah,
it. Like,
yeah,
not everybody's doing the movements exactly the same way anyway. And
100%.
I know you probably say the same, like don't do exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Like put your
yeah,
own spin on it, put your own flavor into it.
yeah,
Like and I've seen the pro people mess up, like the pro revelers and all those, whatever they have, like the MVPs, I think Velocity
yeah,
has.
100%.
I've seen them mess up combos like while
Yeah,
they're filming. So I mean, it happens.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like and like you said, we're human. Like we wake up differently. We have different days where like we feel refreshed and ready to go, and we have other days where we're like, screw this. I'm like
yeah.
so over it already.
It's
And
sometimes class just makes sense. I don't know if this is how it is for you, but like for always, all like forever, my time taking classes, like sometimes class just makes sense, and then there's other times where it's like, no matter how hard I try, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I have no
yeah,
clue what's happening. And
yeah,
then it's like, then later on, I'll like see the combo or something, and I'm like, why was I struggling so much with
yeah,
that? Like
yeah,
I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. But
yeah.
I feel
No,
like
for
for
sure.
kids, it's hard to sort of rationalize that sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Because
sometimes you
if
just don't get it.
well, if they that's their mentality is if they mess up, they suck.
Yeah,
And I've
yeah,
explained that to the kids. I'm like, just because you you make a mistake, you miss a step, you do this something, you do something wrong, it doesn't mean you're bad.
yeah, yeah,
Like that's you're learning.
yeah,
Like sometimes I want you to make mistakes so you can learn from them, so you can like achieve, something through adversity instead of just feeling like you're gonna like ace everything all the time.
100%, hundred
So it's
percent.
like, I experienced that. Like I kind of took that to heart, and like it affected me a lot when I was, I mean, granted, I my first two title competitions I went to, I lost.
Mm,
Then I went on a bit of a streak and I won the next two. And I was like, okay, I'm back at it. And
yeah,
then I walked in with like an ego problem. And then I got like last, I think. I was like the one of the bottom scorers. And I was like, ooh, okay. So
there's the reality check.
yeah, there's the reality check. And I got
Yeah,
humbled real
yeah,
quick. And I was like, all right. So, I try to make it, you know, like be realistic. Like not everything is gonna be smooth. Like that's life. You're not always gonna have ups and ups and ups. You're gonna have a lot of downs. And it's just how you kind
100%.
of,
Yeah,
the cliche, like, saying about it, but it's just like it's how you come up from that down that kind of that makes it more important than you winning all the time is like
yeah,
how you, traverse through adversity.
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
I don't know.
I have a well, possibly maybe you don't have any, but I have a feeling you probably do. But as we kind of head to the end here, do you have any funny judges feedback that you've gotten on routines, tap
I've
wise?
gotten
Like, or
tap
just
wise.
crazy feedback that you've gotten.
Well, there's a funny. It's not. I've had one where, which I don't know. It just depends on how you interpret it, I guess. But like one of my soloists, it was the same soloist that did the acapella routine,
Uh huh.
and she just did like there was like one step where she just hits like a clap, and there was one of the judges was like, "I'd like to see that clap a little bit more right there," and I was like, "Okay, but what does that mean?" I was like, "What do you mean, like louder, like more clapping? Like what are you talking about?" And then there was so my one studio that I teach at,
Hmm.
Moxie Dance Academy. They're down in Dover, Ohio. We offer baton,
Okay.
and there's some girls that do baton solos like at
Okay.
competition, and they'll be in
Okay.
like the
Cool.
variety or like open category,
Yeah.
whatever you
Yeah.
want to. Yeah, and she dances through it. She rolls her baton, she throws them up in the air, but she's still dancing through it and all that.
Yeah.
And one lady, I guess, one judge was just, she goes, lose the battens. And I'm like, and I heard our teacher say that, and I'm like, one, she said battens, and I'm like, so she's, but she's like, I'm like, why would, so you're losing the style? Like that'd be
Yeah.
like me taking off my tap shoes and chucking them into the audience, and I'd be
Oh,
like, all right,
she said lose them.
yeah, lose them. I was like,
That's a crazy take.
so I'm like, all right, so I guess it's just sure. We're just gonna move around without the whole point of the style. That works.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
So, so my like the teacher was floored when she heard that. She's
Yeah,
like, I
that's a
can't
wild
believe she
like.
said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
All
know,
right,
I mean,
fair enough.
yeah. So I haven't gotten anything outrageous, but I'm afraid that like I'm afraid. Have you? Yeah, I'm sure you've seen those, like, especially when competition season rolls around. You see those TikToks where they start posting the judges' comments, which I have.
Kids have been pretty brutal with that
I
recently.
know, and I'm like afraid I'm gonna hear one of mine on there because I hate how I sound anyway. I'm like one of those people that I can't stand when I talk, and
Yeah.
I like if I hear myself talk, I'm like, ugh, like,
Or like I had someone tell me they judge and they sometimes if they get nervous or if they're just trying to talk fast they have a little bit of a speech impediment
mhm,
and someone posted a clip of them judging and was basically kind of like this judge can't even like speak clearly,
yeah,
why are they judging? And I was like, man, that is like the worst case scenario because that, the dancer was probably just like, oh, this is funny, like not even thinking anything of it. When reality, like this is someone that like, that's, it's an insecurity of theirs. And it's like, I don't know.
kids are
I don't know.
brutal.
I don't know how I feel about like it in general. I think on one hand, does it make judges be more mindful of what they're saying? For sure. I think on the other hand, it also kind of highlights things that just maybe aren't super issues. Like the one thing I'll forever stand on this soapbox because I don't know, maybe it's just a me thing, but people are like, I don't want to hear you eating in the microphone. And I'm always like, you're going to hear me eating. You're going to hear me snacking. I'm sitting there for 10 hours.
Yeah, yeah,
You're gonna
for
hear me
sure.
take a drink and chew a potato chip every once in a while.
Yep,
I'm gonna do it mindfully, and I'm gonna try to not just eat the whole way through. But
yep,
like you're gonna give feedback on top of that. But I'm just telling you, you're probably gonna hear me eating at some point in time. Like, 'cause I don't know. I think it's like I think sometimes people hold judges to this standard that just isn't super realistic.
right,
And it's understandable because if you've never done it, you don't really understand it. Like,
right.
because I remember even before I started judging, I had a lot to say about judges all the time.
Mhm.
And then you start judging and you definitely get a little bit more perspective of like, okay, this is really difficult to give quality feedback for 10 hours straight,
Yeah,
listening to the same songs and seeing the same choreography over and over and over again. Like
yeah, and
it's
the
not
same
easy.
people like doing the
Yeah.
same, solo because it's a contemporary jazz and an open.
Yep. Yep.
Yep, and they're like
Yeah.
critiquing
And
the same.
especially here
Yeah,
in the States, because like, you know, in the States, our competitions, a big competition is like, what, maybe 7, 8 studios. Like that would be like a really big competition.
hmm,
So it's like, that's only so many kids.
yeah,
Like, that's really only so many, sure, you might be judging 300 routines, but those are all more or less coming from the same studios the whole day. It's like you're
right.
by midway through the day, you know all the dancers, you know all their weaknesses, you know the kids that are in the
Hmm,
front, you know the kids that are in the back. Like
yep,
it's I don't know. There's a lot of nuance to judging that I think people, understandably so, just don't quite get.
right.
Um, and I think that makes things hard. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the posting of judges' commentary.
I don't like. I'm like with you because, like you said, it kind of like pushes the judges to kind of be a little
Hundred
bit more on
percent,
top of things.
100%.
But you're only posting like a snippet of, they're
Yeah, you're
only
trying to
posting
get the
that one
laugh.
part.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
trying to get the
and
view or the moment.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then it comes off like, oh, that's all they said, and it's like, no, like they probably had a bunch of other feedback on top of
yeah,
that, but you're only posting this like 20-second clip,
yeah,
or
yeah.
or whatever. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the like what you said, the expectations of judges, because it's like, studios are only listening to their 2.5 minute long segments, and they're
Yeah,
not understanding that, yeah, the judges have been sitting there, their legs are, they're like, eyes are like burning, their like mind is kind of like trying to still process on what to say coherently
hundred
without
percent.
sounding like, dumb and everything. And it's taxing. Like, people don't understand. Like, I used to harp on judges all the time when I was like a dancer and like when I was like first teaching and everything. And I was like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. And
Yeah,
then you start living it and you're like, oh, 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 okay.
yeah, yeah.
I start to have a lot. And like when judges breaks, I will always back up a judges break now. I will never get like mad,
Hundred
because
percent.
I'm like,
Hundred
bro, I
percent.
had to go to the bathroom so bad during like
Uh
a
huh.
couple.
Uh
I'm
huh.
like,
Uh huh.
sometimes we just need to like that 5 minutes to like just
Or you're
reset.
just like you're exhausted too. Like
Yeah,
I've had moments where I'm like, I don't know how many more routines I can watch. Like I think I'm like toast. And
yeah,
that, that 5 or 10 minute judges break kind of reignites you a little bit
yeah,
to kind of finish through. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard. And I think a lot of people jump to conclusions, and again, I think the standard is just really high, and it just, nobody's perfect.
no,
I say wrong stuff all the time. I try to adjust it when I can, but also like
I do too.
when I'm trying to give as much feedback as possible,
Yeah,
I'm going to say something a little bit incorrectly, and it's like,
mhm,
what I'm saying, fix it.
yeah, yeah,
Like I might have
yeah,
said it wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. So
yeah,
just
yep,
fix it. Like,
yep, yep.
but yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
No, that's yep.
All right. What's your last little nugget for today? What do you feel like, um, is an actionable that dancers can really kind of take away and apply, that you're either seeing or have seen work, or you just feel could be valuable, especially given this time of the year. Kids are learning their routines. They're even maybe starting to like get into cleaning them pretty well. They might be going to convention soon. What's kind of something they could keep on their mind?
Always go full out, making sure that
Mm,
you're really pushing yourself in the practices as much as you would on stage. Because too many times, and this is coming from somebody that did it myself, I would walk out on stage after kind of doing it like, 50%, 60%,
yep.
in rehearsals. And then if you try to really ramp it up on stage, you have a lot more risk to mess up because you're
Mm,
not used to it. You're like adrenaline is like through the roof, and you're like more likely to just kind of go outside of what you have been normally working on.
mm,
So I always try to tell my students now, just do it full out. I want you to show me how you would do it on stage. I want you to get
yep.
used to it. I want you to get that muscle memory, to get that personality going. It doesn't need to be the same every time. Like, I don't
Yep.
need you to like, give me an award-winning musical theater performance or anything right now, but push yourself,
Yeah.
like give me something more than what you would just like, than you think you would. Perform for the people in the back. Don't
Yeah.
just perform for yourself in the mirror.
I
So,
love that.
yeah.
I
So,
love it. I love it. Michael, thank you so much for running in background too. I appreciate your time as always,
of
and
course.
just such a great conversation. It's always great to just connect with like other educators and people all over, and again, one of those plus sides of the internet. So
Yep.
I
Agreed.
appreciate it. For those that maybe aren't familiar, if you haven't already watched the first episode, go watch that. But where can people reach you? Are any of your classes in Ohio open classes that people can drop into? Anything like that?
I will be posting some if there are open classes. You can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Mike the Tapper. And yeah, if anything comes up, it'll be on my stories, it'll be on my posts.
Amazing.
Of
Amazing. Thank you so much, Michael.
course, thank you.